To quickly assemble quotes on non-engineered residential drawings, firstly, estimate materials. Count the number of outlets, switches, fixtures, and other electrical devices based on the general layout of the floor plan. Calculate the footage of electrical wire, conduit, and Romex cable required based on the size of the house and the number of devices. Allow for materials such as junction boxes, electrical panels, and surge protectors. Secondly, estimate labor. Based on your experience with similar projects, estimate the time required for each task, such as installing wiring, connecting outlets and switches, installing fixtures, troubleshooting and testing. Thirdly, calculate costs. Multiply the estimated material quantities by the current unit prices. Multiply the estimated labor time by your hourly rate or day rate. Fourthly, add overhead and profit. Include a percentage, typically 10 to 20%, for overhead expenses such as insurance, rent, and administration. Add a percentage, typically 10 to 15% for profit. Fifthly, adjust for complexity. If the project has any unusual or complex features that will require additional time or materials, adjust the quote accordingly. Sixthly, present the quote. Provide a clear and detailed breakdown of the materials, labor, overhead, and profit costs. Briefly explain any necessary assumptions or adjustments made based on the available drawings. Emphasize your experience and the advantages of working with your team. Additional tips include visiting the site if possible to get a more accurate assessment of the scope of work, contacting a supplier for material price estimates, consulting with a friend who has experience in larger remodels for guidance and advice, and being prepared to negotiate and adjust the quote based on feedback. When estimating materials, meticulously count every electrical component visible on the plans. This includes standard outlets, ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI outlets for wet locations, switches both single pole and multi-way, light fixtures of all types from simple ceiling mounts to elaborate chandeliers, smoke detectors ensuring code compliance for placement, carbon monoxide detectors if required, exhaust fans for bathrooms and kitchens, and any other specialized electrical devices shown. Once you have a comprehensive device count, turn your attention to estimating the necessary wiring. This involves determining the total length of wire needed, considering the layout of circuits and the distance between devices. For standard residential wiring, Romex or non-metallic sheath cable is commonly used. Consider using different gauges of wire for different circuits, such as 14.2 for 15 amp circuits and 12.2 for 20 amp circuits. If the project involves running wiring underground or in conduit, factor in the appropriate type and amount of conduit needed, such as electrical metallic tubing or EMT, rigid metal conduit or RMC, or PVC conduit. Remember to include extra wire for connections and to account for any potential obstacles or unusual routing. Always overestimate slightly to avoid running short. Don't forget essential materials like junction boxes to safely enclose wire connections, the main electrical panel with sufficient capacity for the new load, surge protectors to protect sensitive electronics, wire connectors, and various other small items like straps, staples, and tape. Accurately estimating labor is crucial for a profitable quote. Break down the project into individual tasks, such as installing wiring, connecting outlets and switches, installing fixtures, and performing testing and troubleshooting. Based on your experience, estimate the time required to complete each task. Consider factors like the complexity of the installation, the accessibility of the work areas, and the skill level of the electricians involved. Be realistic in your time estimates and avoid the temptation to underestimate labor hours in order to win the bid. Once you have estimated the labor hours for each task, multiply those hours by your hourly rate to determine the labor cost. Remember to factor in any additional labor costs such as overtime pay or travel expenses. Accurately calculating your cost is essential for determining a profitable price for the project. Multiply the estimated material quantities by the current unit prices from your suppliers to determine the total material cost. Multiply the estimated labor time by your hourly rate or day rate to determine the labor cost. Be sure to include all direct costs associated with the project, such as permit fees, equipment rental, and subcontractor costs. Don't forget to add in a buffer for unforeseen expenses, such as unexpected repairs or changes to the scope of work. Overhead expenses are the indirect costs of running your business, such as insurance, rent, utilities, and administrative expenses. To accurately account for these costs, calculate your total overhead expenses for a given period, such as a month or a year. Divide that total by your total billable hours or revenue for the same period to determine your overhead rate. Include a percentage, typically 10 to 20% for these overhead expenses in your quote. Profit is the amount of money you want to earn on the project after covering all costs and expenses. A reasonable profit margin is typically 10 to 15% of the total project cost. However, the appropriate profit margin may vary depending on the size and complexity of the project, the level of competition, and your desired return on investment. Be sure to factor in your desired profit margin when preparing your quote. If the project has any unusual or complex features that will require additional time or materials, adjust the quote accordingly. This might include working in difficult-to-reach areas, installing specialized equipment, or dealing with unforeseen site conditions. Be sure to clearly document any adjustments made to the quote and explain the reasons for those adjustments. Presenting a clear and detailed quote is essential for winning the project. Provide a breakdown of the materials, labor, overhead, and profit costs so the customer can see exactly how you arrived at your price. Briefly explain any necessary assumptions or adjustments made based on the available drawings. Emphasize your experience and the advantages of working with your team. Be professional and courteous in your presentation and be prepared to answer any questions the customer may have. Visiting the site, if possible, provides a more accurate assessment of the scope of work. You can identify any potential challenges or obstacles that may not be apparent from the drawings. You can also get a better feel for the overall complexity of the project and adjust your quote accordingly. Contacting a supplier for material price estimates ensures that you are using accurate and up-to-date pricing in your quote. It also allows you to compare prices from different suppliers and choose the most cost-effective options. Consulting with a friend who has experience in larger remodels provides valuable guidance and advice. They can help you identify potential pitfalls and offer suggestions for streamlining the estimating process. They can also provide a fresh perspective and help you avoid overlooking important details. Be prepared to negotiate and adjust the quote based on feedback. The customer may have specific budgetary constraints or may want to make changes to the scope of work. Be willing to work with them to find a solution that meets their needs and your profitability goals. The electrical service size should be determined by calculating the total load of the house. This includes lighting, outlets, appliances, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning or HVAC equipment, and any other electrical devices that will be used in the house. Use the National Electrical Code, or NEC, to calculate the load and determine the appropriate service size. For a 3,750 square foot house, a 200 amps or larger service is generally required, but the actual size will depend on the load calculation. The NEC provides guidelines for calculating the load of a dwelling unit. These guidelines take into account the square footage of the house, the number of small appliance circuits, the number of laundry circuits, and the size of any large appliances. The NEC also provides demand factors, which allow you to reduce the calculated load based on the assumption that not all of the electrical devices in the house will be used at the same time. For example, the NEC allows you to apply a demand factor of 0.40 to the portion of the general lighting load that exceeds 3 watts per square foot. This means that if the general lighting load is 5 watts per square foot, you can only include 3 watts per square foot in the load calculation. Once you have calculated the total load, you can use the NEC to determine the appropriate size of the service entrance conductors, the overcurrent protection devices, and the grounding system. The NEC also provides requirements for the location and installation of electrical equipment. All electrical work must be performed in accordance with the NEC and local codes. It is important to obtain the necessary permits and inspections to ensure that the electrical work is safe and code compliant. The number of circuits required for the house will depend on the size of the house and the electrical load. The NEC requires a minimum of 220 amps small appliance circuits for the kitchen and of 20 amps laundry circuit. In addition, you will need separate circuits for lighting, outlets, and any large appliances. A good rule of thumb is to provide 115 amps lighting circuit for every 500 square feet of living space and 120 amps outlet circuit for every 600 square feet of living space. However, the actual number of circuits required will depend on the specific layout of the house and the electrical load. It is important to distribute the load evenly among the circuits to prevent overloading. The location of electrical panels and outlets should be carefully considered during the design phase. The electrical panel should be located in a readily accessible location, such as a utility room or garage. It should not be located in a bathroom, closet, or other damp or confined space. Outlets should be located near doors, windows, and other areas where they are likely to be used. The NEC requires that outlets be spaced no more than 12 feet apart along walls. Ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI outlets are required in bathrooms, kitchens, and other wet locations. Smoke detectors are required in all bedrooms and on every level of the house. Carbon monoxide detectors may also be required, depending on local codes. The type of wiring used in the house will depend on the local codes and the type of construction. Romex or non-metallic sheathed cable is the most common type of wiring used in residential construction. However, in some areas, metal conduit may be required. The size of the wiring will depend on the amperage of the circuit. The NEC provides tables that specify the allowable ampacity of different sizes of wire. It is important to use the correct size of wire to prevent overheating and fire. All wiring must be properly installed and supported. The NEC provides requirements for the installation of wiring. It is important to follow these requirements to ensure that the wiring is safe and code compliant. The grounding system is an important part of the electrical system. The grounding system provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps to protect people from electric shock. The NEC provides requirements for the grounding system. It is important to follow these requirements to ensure that the grounding system is effective. The NEC is a complex document, but it is essential for ensuring the safety of electrical installations. It is important to consult the NEC and local codes when designing and installing electrical systems. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to use the latest version. There are many resources available to help you understand the NEC. The National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, publishes the NEC and provides training and educational materials. Many electrical contractors and engineers also offer training on the NEC. You can also find information on the NEC online. Electrical safety is very important. Always follow the NEC and local codes when working with electricity. If you are not qualified to do electrical work, hire a licensed electrician. Electricity can be dangerous, so it is important to take precautions to protect yourself and others. Always turn off the power before working on any electrical equipment. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment. Never work on electrical equipment in wet conditions. If you are not sure how to do something, ask for help. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is a comprehensive set of standards for safe electrical installation. It covers everything from wiring methods to grounding to overcurrent protection. It is important to be familiar with the NEC if you are involved in any type of electrical work. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to use the latest version. You can purchase a copy of the NEC from the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA. You can also find information on the NEC online. There are many resources available to help you understand the NEC. The NFPA offers training and educational materials. Many electrical contractors and engineers also offer training on the NEC. You can also find information on the NEC online. Understanding the NEC is essential for safe electrical work. Always follow the NEC and local codes when working with electricity. If you are not qualified to do electrical work, hire a licensed electrician.